If you're in the financial services business, you need more than what a traditional CRM can offer. You need a fully integrated, data-rich platform that empowers your dealmakers to work faster, smarter, and stronger. Drive the deal-making process from strategy and origination to execution with connected relationship data and full scope intelligence. DealCloud's platform, comprised of relationship management, business development, pipeline management, marketing, third-party data integration, data management, and more, is purpose-built by capital markets professionals. Our unparalleled technology enables you to harness the cumulative intellectual capital of your people and processes to drive firm-wide success. With the DealCloud platform, you'll get a single source of truth to help you manage relationships, execute deals, and easily connect with external solutions and third-party data providers.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Realcomm Live. Good to have you with us. As I've been doing for about a year and a half now, I'm going to summarize today's episode in a couple words, one or two words. Exhausting. Okay, the topic is artificial intelligence and the impacts to the built environment. I'll let you know that the agenda and outline for this particular discussion changed 2 hours before we are going live. That's how fast this is moving. The headlines are popping out daily. New technologies are being released every week. And I'm just watching people's wheels turn, trying to figure out how to digest this information, how to apply it to themselves, their organizations, the industry, their lives, their kids. And while it's fun as a technologist, you're always interested in new changes. Sometimes it becomes a little overwhelming. And our goal and our job is to aggregate some of the biggest thinkers on the topic and get them here on Realcomm Live, our webinars, at our events, to try to make some sense and keep the hype to a minimal, because there's a real danger of that. So today we have got who I consider one of the folks leaning into this in our industry. Let's bring him on. Joseph Martino, VP of IT for Primaris REIT. Joe, I apologize. We're changing the agenda a little bit, but you know, these days you got to kind of be open to change, correct?
Agile, yes.
Agile. That's a good way to put it. So before we go to the conversation we had designed, some news and some things have been coming out in the last week or so. I'm just going to share my screen, and I'm going to pop through these real quick. I don't want to get your opinion yet. Just kind of take note. This is the news from OpenAI, Sora. What you're watching here is voice or text to video generation. The prompt was a Chinese Lunar New Year celebration with a dragon, and this is what it came up with. That's one product announcement. Then we've got 11 Labs, who's doing text to voice. And then they came out, I think, this week saying, oh, by the way, we're going to figure out a way, and they've got demos already, of overlaying their voice to those videos we just saw. Now you start seeing, what the implications to that are. Now because we're in the real estate industry, Tyler Perry puts construction of an $800 million studio on hold because he may not need those sound studios, those green screens, if AI is as good as it's appearing it is. An AI-generated influencer pulls in $11,000 a month. I think this is just the beginning. And then last but not least, week before, finance worker pays out $25 million after video call with deepfake financial officer. So that's just a little bit of what's happened in the last week. Okay. It impacts the organization. It impacts the real estate market, impacts the workforce. And I wanted to just get your quick take on all of this as it relates to the macro conversation on artificial intelligence. And then, of course, we'll dive right into our predetermined conversation about how you're using it at Primaris.
Yeah, Jim, thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it very much. It's always a great chat with yourself and Howard. I think media content creation in general is kind of up in the air. AI is changing the game drastically for that industry. Another announcement as well is Reddit is IPOing, and as well they announced that There's a 60 million, I believe, $60 million investment, so that Google Gemini could use Reddit content, which is one of the largest content repositories that we have on the internet, basically to build into their LLM. So, the whole content media world is.
I hope they had some privacy conversations along the way.
You would think so. I know Reddit closed down some of their APIs so they could stop the free scraping of a lot of their data, and they did this a while ago. And I guess, in preparation to monetize their data, which makes sense, right? Because their whole premise is built upon community knowledge and bringing that together. And then when you sort of just pull that out of the internet and use it in a large language model and then serve it up somewhere else, Reddit's kind of left back. But now obviously they've made that deal with Google Gemini. But yeah, in general, this is game changing.
Well, and I've been in this IT career for quite a while. I've never seen things move at this speed. Okay, as we talked about in the green room, from the ChatGPT announcement fall year or so ago, to what we did at Realcomm, the forming of the AI advisory group, Buildings AI, getting ready for this year's conference. We might as well just change the name of the conference to Realcomm and IBCon AI, because it's impacting every single topic that we're going to be dealing with. So I think we're in agreement that we've never quite seen anything like this, or at least it's online with the internet, PCs, the whole personal compute revolution, cell phones. I mean, this one's big.
Yeah, and you said it yourself in the pre-show. Fast forward, 6+ months, 8 months, and we show up at the Realcomm Live conference, and there's just going to be a whole new bunch of functionality and players in the game by the time that happens.
And I am attempting, and I'll make the pledge to try to keep the hype to a minimum, right? Because there's only so much you can control. It's hard, but we're going to just continue to find folks like you who are, paying attention to the speed and the velocity, but are pragmatic. You've got good strategies in place. You're executing deliberately, and you're not going to let this thing whipsaw you, but you are leaning in, right? And I think for those people who aren't really embracing it or haven't yet, there's a little sense of overwhelming that I'm feeling, from a lot of people, like it's too much, right? And it's not just too much to understand it, but then to get it into your organization, get executive leadership understanding it, getting middle management to understand it, getting the people who are working inside your buildings to understand it. Pretty daunting task.
Distilling it all is a daunting task. That's exactly what it is. Getting engaged in it, understanding it, and creating awareness within the organization as these things come up is like happening in real time.
Exactly. So let's get to it. Tell me a little bit about your background in IT, just so I love context. Obviously you've been at this for a little bit, but give the listeners a little understanding of your IT career as it leads to Primaris, and then we'll jump into Primaris and how you're using artificial intelligence inside the company.
Yeah, I spent most of my career delivering SaaS solutions, mainly in fleet telematics, fleet management, and IoT technologies. I spent time in operations, in data and analytics, CRM, system deployments, corporate IT, production IT, and all sort of enveloped around that is really customer experience, especially when you work in product delivery, companies that are delivering software to large client bases. No matter what part of the organization you're in, you're very customer focused. Everything you're doing is for that end customer. So yes, I would say that's really, I've had some great opportunities to work in companies that are in scaling mode. So starting from very small to very large, which, it's given me a bit of gray hair over the years, but tons of experience and exposure to things that, I'm very lucky to have experienced.
So a little bit on day-to-day in your role at Primaris.
Day-to-day at Primaris, we have, as we've talked at length, corporate IT and operational technology. We have a small team, a lean team, who do great things here, supporting the organization across the portfolio. Primaris is actually the largest owner-operator of shopping centers in Canada by mall count. So we own enclosed shopping centers, and that's really our focus from an asset class perspective. The team is public information that we're looking to continue to grow and acquire properties at the top end of our portfolio. And IT team specifically, supporting that scale, supporting the productivity needs of the organization, supporting centralizations of process, standardization of process, and really underpinning all that process with technology. So needless to say, there's a ton going on here. Prioritization is key for the organization right now. We're laser focused. I work with the senior leadership team in some great conversations on prioritizing what's important for Primaris at this point in time to help us scale and get through the next phase of growth.
So in our journey in the last year or so on this topic, we've kind of seen that most of the case studies and the uses are falling into at least three major buckets. Number one would be real estate enterprise applications, property management, lease administration, what have you. How to use AI in that arena to make better decisions, faster decisions. There's the front end, smart building. How do you make the building operate more efficiently, more engaging? These are the physical systems, air conditioning, light, heating inside a building. And the third is organizational productivity. And it appears that you've chosen that as your first entree in. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say it's fair. The major products and the organization that maybe could benefit on the ERP side and whatnot are things that we're doing in proof of concept. But really, it's about gaining productivity gains from AI. I think it's already available and can be deployed in a safe and controlled manner. So this, to me, lowest risk on the poll, and this would be where I wanted to start. So we've done, as a team, as an IT team, we figured the best way to do this is to jump in and use these technologies ourselves first before deploying to the organization from a product.
And it's a pretty safe bet that most people in our industry rely very heavily on the Microsoft stack, right, as the enterprise productivity platform.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense, right? And Microsoft obviously has a big stake in this game. So can you describe, like, day one, your Copilot and other Microsoft product AI journey? What was day one for you in this AI journey within the Microsoft stack?
Well, day one, I would say, started likely a lot of other journeys started from the productivity side with ChatGPT back in November 2022, where quickly it was understood that there was going to be some sort of partnership, or there was some back workings that they would come together with OpenAI and be able to offer up some services. Fast forwarding, they released their version of Copilot using OpenAI services in the background. But it was limiting from an organization perspective because they had minimums of 300 licenses. I think they did that really to get the first innovating companies that have big budgets to get in there and really work out the kinks. And thankfully, they changed that. And I would say on day one, when they took down that 300 minimum license, we lit up licenses.
Was it literally day one? You signed up day one?
As soon as I heard the news that morning, I came in the office, and myself and our director of infrastructure, Tim Davidson, we lit up the license, and never turned back since then. Really, two purposes. Obviously, we want to be productive as a team, but also I'm a strong believer in testing and trying technologies before they get deployed to the organization.
So the logic so far is, I'm heavily invested in Microsoft. They're heavily invested in AI. Why don't I follow that battleship and in their wake? That makes a lot of sense. And then two, let me focus on really bringing the entire organization up on the topic, so then they can start impacting all the different places AI may touch throughout the entire ecosystem.
You got it. And
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Where we went quickly was, okay, we need to learn, but not just with our hands. We also need some, professional helping us along this journey. So we reached out to Microsoft right away. We got workshops started with them. They have Copilot workshops, which anyone can, sort of reach out to their account reps and get started on, because there's some large governance exercises and preparation exercises that you want to go through before you go deploy to the organization, which, it's got some significant lead time there for sure. So one of the things that we did, and I know we might show some slides on this, but to give it to the organization, I felt as if once, sort of bringing it into the IT ecosystem, it would be very overwhelming to bring to the rest of the organization in one shot. The Microsoft app tray and stack is there's a ton of great stuff in there. that really most people have access to, but it's hard for them to dip their toes in and start using these applications. So I didn't want to overwhelm the organization. What we started with was Microsoft had initially released Copilot in the Edge sidebar. So we are a Microsoft stack. We do use Edge as our default browser in the org, and they released Edge sidebar, part of our Microsoft licensing. So it made sense that we could significantly reduce risk from people going out into ChatGPT and putting public and sensitive information out in the public engines, and bring them into the organization in an organizational tool that's more controlled, something like Copilot Edge, dip their toe in AI, understand the capabilities. We quickly started to do some webinars with the organization and show them capabilities. I did one just a couple weeks ago, essentially me showing people how to prompt and use the tool that's there. On the next slide, you'll see that they give an actual compose feature as part of the Edge sidebar for Copilot. And it really, for those users who wouldn't necessarily know where to start on how to put together a document or an email or a presentation, in here it kind of gives you the pre-created prompts to go through and compose an actual document. You can do it in Word. You could bring up your office.com a website where you'd have access to Word and to PowerPoint and to any other productivity app, and you can essentially generate text and talk contextually to what's on your page in that browser, and create some AI content that you can then use, whether it's summarizing key points on presentations, or it's creating emails to whoever it is that you're talking with on a daily basis via email. So some great productivity gains there just in your day-to-day writing, I would call it, and content creation. And then again, on the risk side, we wanted to keep people in our controlled ecosystem. And Primaris, you see on that last slide, what we did was we quickly spun up Azure OpenAI services within our Microsoft Azure environment and offer up a chat that's, for all intents and purposes, what you would get out of ChatGPT, but this is built on GPT-4 Turbo, and previously we did 3.5. But essentially, it's skinned for us to use internally, and it's within our controlled internal environment. So none of the data that goes in there, if there is sensitive data or confidential data, doesn't feed the public models outside of our environment.
So I mean, my head is spinning. Okay, given the multitude of Microsoft products you just named, which, by the way, the names are changing daily.
They are.
Do you have a whiteboard or some kind of digital board in your office that just focuses on the Microsoft stack and all the different references to AI? Because in our various conversations, you've talked about Bing Enterprise, Copilot for Teams. All of these different products, some are private, some are public. I mean, that's a pretty big maze of technology that you have to understand how, when, and where to apply. How did you work through all that, and are you still developing an understanding of their entire platform as it relates to artificial intelligence?
100%. Still developing. Like I said, we're focused on customer experience and where we hear business needs. Especially, when I start to do webinars like that, I have some key people that kind of pop out of the organization and say, hey, I've been using this and this is great. Can you show me more? Can you show me a little bit more? Or I need something to do this. And that's where I can start to, develop a longer roadmap on some of these tools, because the user base brings me those use cases. As for kind of whiteboarding all the business apps across the org, yes, we do have, a business app map. But to your point, it is changing. And now we have to integrate in, I would say, the AI components on the productivity side into that chart, into that map.
Yeah, because I mean, the applications are endless. I mean, in the retail market, taking retail shopping demographics, local population demographics, sales, the financials of all the different tenants, throw that in the mosh pit. And I mean, you could use this as a strategic tool all the way up to the boardroom on deciding which markets, which products.
Well, in that internal chat that I was showing you, we've pointed it to our internal SharePoint. So again, Microsoft Stack using the Microsoft Azure tools, it's kind of very easy. I don't want to trivialize it. There's obviously configuration there and security and controls that need to be put in place, but essentially it's a lot of just click and create connections with your data. In this case, we have a lot of SharePoint data, and we can tap into that data through chat. Obviously not fully baked, but this is something that we want to start to give our user base so that they can start to understand the art of possible and interact with data that they previously, maybe interaction with that data was tougher, reading through stuff. Now you can query it.
After talking to you and others, we realized early on that the industry is looking for this. So we are full on in the middle of developing a workshop for the conference in June.
Great.
90 minutes, might be 2 hours. We're still working on the details, digging deep into the resources of Microsoft to make sure we get the right people who understand the built environment. But for those of you listening, rest assured we are going to have resources available, leverage resources, because imagine everybody's picking up the phone and trying to get to these folks. We're going to have a program that's going to deal with this straight on. Before we take a break, real quick question on a 100-mile journey, as it relates to not you but your organization on this artificial intelligence journey. 100 miles, what mile are you at?
Based on the moving goalpost, I would say we just started the ignition. I think my role will evolve. Organizations, the way they interact with technology is going to evolve so quickly, and it will be very different 100 miles down the road, to your point. But yeah, I feel like there's just so much out there that we can still look towards and have ambitions for. Just like your news articles, this is disrupting the media and content industry. Wait till these things really get embedded into the daily infrastructure that we have, like GitHub Copilot for developers, Copilot for security. These are some other Microsoft products that we'll dip our toe into as well. Like just the whole way of working, both from an IT perspective and then as a company.
I think that's the way we open the workshop, is a listing of all the different products, because I've been talking with some tech executives, and some are fully aware and some are not. These products are being changed daily, names changing, new products introduced. So we're going to use the conference as a level set. Okay, here's Microsoft stack as it relates to the built environment, pertaining to AI, and at least get everybody up to the same place. All right, let's take a brief break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Joe about some specific things he's doing in his world using artificial intelligence inside the Microsoft platform. I was duly impressed when I saw it, and I think you will be as well. We'll be right back. All right. I got to admit, there's a little bit of a geek in me, always has been. And I remember when you gave, we first talked about, and then you kind of gave us a little demonstration on how you are using Microsoft AI products within Teams, and you described the recording of the meeting and then the transcription, and then applying it to Copilot. Can you give our audience just a brief description of how you use that in your daily life as it relates to Teams and meetings like the ones that we're used to experiencing every day?
Sure. Yeah, I would say on the productivity side, it's probably my favorite part of the Copilot offering at this point, is really using it within the Teams environment. Number one, Teams has like its own Copilot app in there that you could kind of open up and use like a search engine across all your files and across your files, your emails, your conversations. And it'll tell you that, as you ask it, which I do on a daily basis, recap my day for me, or what is in the day ahead, tasks, action items. And it'll quickly start, its little prompt, and you can see it's thinking, and it's looking through emails, and it's looking through my documents, and it's looking through my chat conversations, and then gives me a summary. And I'll tell you, it's very helpful because, we are all moving, miles very fast. And, on a daily basis, how many times do you forget maybe one or two tasks that you meant to get ahead of? I feel like it's some good reminders there. On the meeting recap side, like it's really amazing. What we do now is make sure to record, make sure to transcript, because it's valuable data that we can take not only to recap in general the summary of the meeting, but also action items. So I find we have great meetings, and if you're not meticulous with note taking, you have a ton of action items in there that you essentially maybe have lost in the conversation or whatnot. This keeps you accountable for sure, because once you do that recap, then you could list out action items, and I'll tell you, every time I run it, I'm like, oh yeah, that I wasn't thinking about that action item.
Scale of 1 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10. How much has the organization embraced that use on a daily basis?
So again, deployed to the org, we're sticking with the Edge browser sidebar for now.
Okay.
And only the users that show up that are that have ambitions to get more out of it. We've provided a few other licenses in the organization to Copilot to test it out. But before we can deploy across the whole organization, we still have to finish our governance exercises with the Microsoft team. But I can tell you the IT team is using it. And obviously we're a more controlled environment, and the productivity gains that we're getting just in our team meetings, this product is already essential for us. So
of everything you've seen in the last 3 months, 6 months, inside the Microsoft stack relating to AI, anything else jump out that you need to share with us? Like favorite application, most astounding experience?
Yeah, I don't know if the non-geeks on the phone will, or on the live will appreciate it, but the power stack from a Microsoft perspective is looking better and better. The functionality, if I could describe sort of a use case that I'm building out, is really taking our help desk tickets, and as they come through help desk, which we use again another Microsoft product, Dynamics, to store our help desk tickets, we scrape those tickets, or we will be scraping those tickets, formatting them in a much better way. As you know, a lot of help desk tickets turn out to be not so well formatted, structuring the data, and then being able, the next step of this is really being able to automate some responses either back to the tech support team or out to the actual end user or end employee who brought an issue forward, to offer suggestions and to offer first steps, triaging help.
Same concept can be applied to maintenance and operations of the building as well.
You got it. So the technology there is the Power Stack that Microsoft has, and its Power Automate has introduced a bunch of GPT related capabilities, all coming from OpenAI, that allow you to insert AI, Gen AI capabilities into automated workflows. So any of the users out there will know Power Automate. They'll know that you can sort of build a workflow script, and in that script now you can easily drop in Gen AI features, analyze this text, summarize this text. And so these are some of the exciting ways I think.
And we haven't even talked yet about the PowerPoint, the Excel, the Word. I mean, again, think about everything Microsoft as it relates to your databases, your applications, your documents, your data, your productivity tools. If AI starts, hitting the edges of all those, I mean, we looked at the way movies and videos are being generated. Organizational productivity, I think, is ready for one of those astounding jumps.
It is
astounding jumps.
And my view on it is I have to embrace it. There's many different ways to come at this and many perspectives. And, I do hold dear the risk side of this and the governance side of this. But I think part of being a risk in front of the risk is actually understanding the technology intimately.
Intimately.
Why we are using it. Yeah.
Well, I think your approach is stunning. pilot it within the tech group where you got control, put it out there into the organization in bit-sized pieces, continue to organize or educate the organization, get your governance in place. Joe, I think you're doing it right. And again, this is the beginning of the journey. But so far, it sounds like you're doing a great job, and I'm hoping to have you back a number of times. I know you're one of the co-chairs of the AI advisory group, where it's going to be, working with us to make sure the AI messages at the conference are the right ones and the products. So I just want to say, number one, thank you for your efforts inside your role at Primaris, and then number two, thank you for sharing that with us and hence the community. And it is really, really appreciated.
My pleasure, and really glad to be part of the journey.
Okay. We will be back, no doubt. Have a great day. Thanks
You
again.
too. Take care, Jim.
Bye-bye. All right. I knew it was going to go over a little bit. Honestly, that conversation could have gone an hour. We're going to have quite a few conversations on AI in the weeks and months to come leading up to the conference. Howard, I'm going to get right out of your way. I know we went over. You got some great stories, probably some about AI, and we'll let you get at it.
Oh, thanks, Jim. And thank you, Joseph. I mean, for everything, for your leadership, in our Realcomm community on the AI topic and everything that you bring. That was a great conversation. And really looking forward to escalating the conversations at the conference. So moving on to the news, I'm going to highlight a few stories from our weekly briefing that goes out every Thursday morning. And if you don't see it in your inbox, just go to realcomm.com and click on news. So in a story that reads like a page out of a cyber espionage novel, we turn to China, where an investigation is underway into a massive unauthorized leak of documents from a company called I-Soon, a Chinese hacking company with deep ties to the CCP. And this document dump isn't just a few files. We're talking about a deluge of information that lays bare the digital espionage tools and tactics used by Chinese authorities to keep tabs on dissidents and hack foreign networks. And the leaked cache includes contracts, presentations, lists of clients, employees. It's the equivalent of finding the secret recipe to state surveillance cookbooks. Now, this isn't just about spying on their own citizens. The document showed that the company's tentacles reach internationally into the digital infrastructures of Hong Kong, Taiwan, and more. Theories on who's behind the leak range from rival intelligence services to internal whistleblowers. The U.S. has been ramping up defenses against these nation-state hacks, with recent charges against Chinese police units for conducting similar surveillance operations abroad. One thing's clear: digital background, not just about technology. It's about the power to control information, digital espionage, and perhaps most importantly, the behavior of populations. Next, AI in the news. Again, imagine that. In a significant move, Google's put the brakes on a feature in its Gemini AI image generation tool amid concerns of historical accuracy. The tech giant acknowledged the issues after users pointed out that AI was generating images of historical figures, such as our US founding fathers, as people of color. Now, Google's admitted to missing the mark and is working to rectify the inaccuracies. And this step back comes as Google looks to compete with Microsoft-backed OpenAI, which recently launched Sora, an impressive generative AI capable of creating video from text prompts. A senior director at Google emphasized the company's commitment to representation and bias, saying they will continue refining the technology. Next, on the product side, Matterport just launched a new product called Property Intelligence, which is a suite of AI-powered tools like automated measurement, layouts, editing, and reporting capabilities that can streamline the creation of virtual property tours and more. Now, Matterport serves up about a billion virtual tours annually. These are for home tours, to manage retail stores, or to even oversee manufacturing operations remotely, reducing the need for physical site visits. Another cool feature is an add-on that converts digital twin data into editable CAD drawings, really good for expediting design and construction workflows. And the company is hinting at something called Project Genesis, an upcoming Gen AI that can declutter, generative AI that can declutter or completely redesign a space virtually. So stay tuned for a lot more of this generative design AI innovation in this space. Finally, what's on the horizon for smart restroom solutions? So smart maintenance tech adoption, increasing at an increasing rate. Smart restroom solutions are enabling data-driven cleaning and maintenance by continually monitoring IoT restroom devices and alerting custodial staff immediately when maintenance is needed, all contributing to higher performance buildings by enabling custodial staff to be more proactive in providing well-maintained, well-stocked restrooms, and leads to elevated cleaning and hygiene results, improved operational efficiency, optimized energy consumption, and reduced waste. Now, we're starting to see Gen AI applied to smart restroom operations, helping figure out how to more efficiently consolidate and bundle complex arrays of products and services that currently exist in smart restroom operations. But what's puzzling to me is that, a lot of these technologies, they, especially the IoT technologies, they've been around for a decade or more.
Well, you're reading my mind. So I'm going to comment on a few articles. Okay, wait. The first one.
Yeah, but the point is they're all low cost, high return investments. Why isn't everybody on stock?
Howard, how many years ago did you put the smart building or the smart bathroom pavilion at Realcomm? Was it 15? Remember?
15. Yeah, easy.
Yeah. Paper towel, water detection, toilet paper.
It was all there. Maybe the communication protocols were a little different. They handled the data a little differently, but the improvements to efficiency.
So you have a bathroom on the 50th floor that if it leaks will hit 49 floors on its way to the bottom. And we're still not censoring every single bathroom and every single skyscraper for pennies.
High maintenance things, and put in a couple of dollar sensor, and on a LoRaWAN network, and have it flag you when they.
Yeah, it's not new. It's not new.
It's old.
Yeah, it's old. Yeah, it's starting to get a little frustrating. It's like,
and now they're applying Gen AI to it. It's just.
Yeah.
It's just
my theme for this year is less talk, more action. Okay, because this stuff.
Oh yeah, let's just do it.
Exactly. I think that's your phrase. Let's just do it. Enough of the BS, I think, is your phrase. One final thought on that first article, though, on the Chinese hack. This nation state threat has been on our radar screen for a number of years. It's going to be a big deal at the conference. We're going to have lots of conversations on it. It is escalating. The built environment as a subset of critical infrastructure is included in the conversation. And we're going to have some really serious domain experts helping building owners understand what they can do when, in fact, the threats are real. So
this is on the table, from cyber to deep fakes to nation state hacks.
Well, if anybody listening, I would encourage you to go up to YouTube and type in FBI congressional hearing, China. I think it's about 2 weeks ago now. 2 hours and 11 minutes, I think, is the hearing. Watch every minute of it. Department of Defense, CISA, FBI, and the White House, all represented senior level.
I watched it. It's worth
absolutely worth a watch. And the reason it's worth a watch is, there's not much we can do. We have to be realistic. But what we can do is elevate that message to senior leadership, CEO, CFO, the board, that this whole cyber espionage, cyber threat is about to go to another level, and it needs the attention of executive leadership, not just IT teams.
We have to mobilize the country really around probably one of the most existential threats that we've seen to our country.
Absolutely. So great reporting as always, capturing those articles, and thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you all. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. All right. Before I wrap and talk about next week, let's hear from our final sponsor.
REBOT saves one of our clients over 50 hours a month on their property management project. Another client saves 25 hours every month by using its AI-powered invoice automation. And REBOT finishes the task in just 30 minutes. RPA as a service empowers you to advance your analytics, guarantee consistency, and increase productivity, all while enhancing accuracy and improving employee morale. As a scalable, reliable solution, REBOT becomes an extension of your team, growing alongside you and creating more time for the human members of your team to do what they do best. Your time is important. Let us help you create more of it. REBOT is powered by Retransform, a global technology services provider and partner.
All right, so just kind of wrap today's show. Big shout out, thank you to Joe. Just doing a phenomenal job at Primaris. One of the folks who leaned in early, and equally, if not more important, is his willingness to share. He's keeping himself and his organization at the cutting edge, top of the charts, and he's willing to share with our industry every step of the way. And that's what it's going to take, leverage from all of these different organizations to share with each other to make sure that we all keep on track. Next week, surprise, surprise, AI again. This week we're going to be talking to next week we're going to be talking to Gary Bailey, VP of Enterprise Applications and Operations for Pico. And what really caught my attention with Gary is, number one, he did a demo for a bunch of us where he actually did the whole presentation using AI, and then he recorded his voice, and then he gave the presentation back to us using his recorded voice of AI. And honestly, we couldn't tell which was the real Gary. Number one. And then the second thing that he told me that really caught my attention was, I said, when did you really dive into AI, and when did executive leadership take it serious? And he goes, the day after ChatGPT was announced. So they leaned in fast, hard, and early, and there's been no looking back. He's got applications to talk about. He's got successful projects he's going to be talking about as far as AI is concerned. And again, our promise to all of you is to get through the hype, get through the clutter, and to find those legitimate people, organizations, and case studies that will help you understand the power of AI, and for that matter, all the technologies it relates to the real estate industry. So with that, I say thank you to everybody who helps put this together. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Be well and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.